and welcome to the 7th edition of Marex Maritime News Bulletin. These are the headlines on Monday, 30th March 2020. Government relaxes NRI taxation norms. MUI and NUSI claim victory for seafarers. What should the government be doing to help ships and seafarers do their duty in these difficult times? Eminent personalities speak out. Are Indian pilots sufficiently protected from COVID-19? World leader CMA CGM launches SEAPRIORITY Go. And now the news in detail. Senior officials of Indian maritime unions, MUI and NUSI, had met the Union Shipping Minister of India to impress upon him to have NRI taxation norms relaxed, which would have otherwise heavily impacted seafarers. In media statements issued recently, we hear satisfaction in that all their efforts have now borne fruit.
The Maritime Union of India now privileged to inform that budget was finalized on 23rd March 2020 and both demands of MUI has been fulfilled. Number one, continuation of the existing rule of being outside India for 180 days to qualify NRI remains the same. Number two, no payment of income tax by the seafarers who qualify as NRI, even if they do not have paid income tax in any other country. The Maritime Union of India would like to thank all our seafarers who have expressed their support and displayed their confidence in MUI and NUSI to accomplish their achievements. We would like to place on record our thanks to Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and Honorable Shipping Minister Shri Mansukh Bhai Mandaviya ji, who has supported us. As conveyed earlier, we also waiting formal declaration in the form of circular. To clarify the above 2 points, we are pursuing this matter in the direction which is act an additional and conclusive assurance of our seafarers. Near future, present and beyond. Thank you.
2nd February 2020, when the budget was presented in the parliament, it shattered the Indian seafarers particularly, because what benefit they got before the budget was going to be snatched on 2 counts. One, the 183 days was increased to 240 days, and secondly, if they don't pay tax anywhere else in any other country, they would be taxed in India. Seafarers, as we know, are a floating population. They are not paying tax. They are not supposed to pay tax in any other country. So that was a big problem for the seafarer. NUSI strongly took up the matter with the Government of India, with the Prime Minister himself and the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Shipping, and advised all seafarers of all ranks to register their protest at our email ID, that was nusi@nusi.org.in. And let me tell you, friends, that we got thousands and thousands and thousands of petitions which we forwarded to the Government of India. Now, what was the reason? That the benefits which we got before the budget, if we were not going to retain it, then 30% of the income of even of those qualifying for non-resident status would have gone towards tax, and we just couldn't let this happen. So along with the Maritime Union of India, we also met the Minister of Shipping, Mr. Mansukh Mandaviya, who promised that he will personally take up the matter with the Ministry of Finance and the Government of India. And I personally had also met Mr. P.K. Sinha, who is presently the principal advisor to the Prime Minister himself. And fortunately, after a fight of 50 days, on 23rd March 2020, it was clarified in the Parliament that those benefits which existed pre-budget for the non-resident would still be retained, and as such, all our seafarers, whether working and all ranks of seafarers on cargo ship, cruise ships, merchant ships, all types of ships, even on the rigs on foreign waters, they would retain the benefits which they had got before. This was a big victory for all our seafarers, and we are very happy about it, and we would want this our solidarity between the officers and the ratings and all ranks of seafarers to continue under the banner of the union.
However, not all are convinced that this actually spells relief for seafarers. Expressing his doubts, Mr. Anil Devli, CEO of Indian National Shipowners Association, INSA, said, "Having gone through the finance bill as approved, we are not very happy with the wordings in respect of the taxability of the Indian seafarer. On plain reading, it does not seem to be a clean exemption for the seafarer. However, we are examining this closely and are in discussion with tax experts before we form a final opinion on the subject." Ships and cargoes must keep moving now more than ever, and seafarers have this great responsibility to keep essential supplies coming in. But what should our Indian government be doing to help ships and seafarers execute their responsibility to their best, while protecting them and their interests during these turbulent times? Here are some eminent voices.
As you are aware, the entire country is on lockdown due to the outbreak of COVID-19, and only the seafarers on board are extending their uninterrupted services during this tough situation. Maritime industry is the one industry without which the world would not survive, and for that the seafarer needs timely support from the ashore authority, particularly when there is a crisis. The essential commodity like fresh water, provisions, bunkers, medicine, etc. to be supplied from the shore to meet the requirements of the seafarers on board the ship. Since the government has declared the merchant navy comes under essential services, so the government should instruct to the local authorities and local police not to stop ship chandler or agent to supplying the essential items on board ship. Government should make arrangement to change the crew after taking preventive measure and medical checkups. The Maritime Union of India would like to acknowledge and salute to our Indian seafarers who are presently serving on board ships. Because of pandemic, they cannot leave the ship anywhere in any port in the world. They are continuing to work on board 24/7 and keeping the world lifeline opens, even if their service period is extended. God bless them and their families. It is because of them we can stay home. Thank you.
I certainly welcome the move of Government of India and Ministry of Shipping, Ports Wing, to declare the shipping and the ports operations as essential services during this tough time. I also welcome the key player, that is seafarers, who are running the logistics supply chain in the world today. This will ensure that the ports and the ships are operated well. However, now Government of India needs to ensure, and all port authorities needs to ensure, that the port authorities, pilots, stevedores, and all service providers to the ships are taken care of against the COVID-19 risk. We need to install scanners. We need to have immigration clearances, quarantine clearances for the vessels calling in Indian ports, to see their reportings and the last port of calls and visitors on board history is checked and is verified properly before they are allowed into the port. This is a pandemic, so we need to be very extra careful. We are allowing this port sector to run because this is a lifeline of world for supply chain, and if this stops, everything will come to standstill and people will die of hunger more than people will die of COVID-19. Thank you.
Considering the current sudden difficult situation arising out of policies from prevalent emergencies, authorities should turn facilitators in all respects so that trade can flow smoothly without obstructions. Special impetus need be given to extend time limits, waiver of penalties, etc. to hasten cargo flow, both imports and exports, so that operationally and financially all along the logistics chain can be assisted. Lessons learned could be instituted as permanent trade enablers for pursuing growth, improved ease of doing business, etc. Formalities and other slowdowners should be removed with full digitalization as eventual goal sooner than later. These are imperatives, not choices.
Our ship pilots in India, who are the first to board ships and face infection from the coronavirus during each boarding, being protected sufficiently? Reports say that pilots working in Mumbai waters are being provided personal protective equipment as seen here, and they have been given instructions on how to protect themselves from becoming infected during their work. Meanwhile, a reliable source informs us that all countries are not necessarily providing such safeguards. Australia's Great Barrier Reef pilots are continuing to work aboard ships with just a mask and no other protection at all. World leader in shipping and logistics, the CMA CGM group has announced the launch of the SEAPRIORITY Go service. It offers priority boarding of goods onto vessels to primarily transport time-sensitive cargoes across the globe. The France-based CMA CGM group currently uses 200 shipping routes between 420 ports in 150 different countries. Recently, the group donated 100,000 FFP2 masks to the French government to help tackle the COVID-19 emergency. Now, some heartening news. The National Union of Seafarers of India, NUSI, has pledged a generous amount of Rs 25 lakhs to the fight against the coronavirus. Thank you for watching this news bulletin. Have a safe week. See you all next Monday.